Hard Money Joe here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you've ever been interested in flipping houses with no money down, man, I have a treat for you here today. Stick around to the end of this video. I'm going to give you some insights and some game-changing secrets. You will not be disappointed. So let's dive in, guys. Let's figure out what is the truth behind flipping houses with no money down. All right, guys. First step is to find a property that you want to offer on for the strategy that we're going to be covering. So I've just pulled up the MLS and found one of the closest ones to me. This one here on Sage Canyon. Looks like it doesn't have any internal pictures, but we know this area pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach out to this agent and see if we can walk it tomorrow. But it's listed right now at 169. It's been listed for about 5 days. We'll run the ARV when we get back, but generally this area is around 230 to 240 ARV. All right, guys, as easy as that, we got access from the realtor. So let's get on in this house and figure out how much it's going to cost to rehab. That's going to be able to help us get our final number that we know we're comfortable with offering. And remember, the goal of this one is to get into this flip with no money down, right? That's the secret sauce, the magic we're trying to cover. So just walking into this property, it's actually pretty clean. Could have been a lot worse. It does actually have a pool, so that'll be an expense we'll just add in there. We don't know how bad it is. Luckily, it's full of water. Causes more problems when you get them and they're empty. That fence line back there looks brand new. So it's not in terrible shape. I don't feel or see any signs of foundation. Don't see any cracking in the door frames. But what I do notice is that the layout is super funky. So it looks like this here used to be the master. They've made it, almost as a study. So we have to definitely do some rejigging here. Yep, here's your master bathroom. That's going to be a full remodel. And if you look up here, it looks like there's some issue going on. You can tell it's with the plumbing. So I bet a pipe ruptured at some point, or multiple pipes ruptured. Texas doesn't do very well when it freezes. So wow, this is a big room. So you would have thought this was the primary with a huge closet, but it's not. I don't know if they ever added on back here or not. Could have extended this. This one looks right over the pool. Kind of nice to have a little door that goes to the pool from there. Okay, huge closet. Another bathroom here. It's a good size for these two rooms. This is a little bit of a smaller room here. Next to the kitchen. And then, do we still have a study? Or this leads in from the garage. Yeah, so again, this is a lot of wasted space right here. So probably knock this down, then you have your chimney. I'm not sure. We'll have to kind of think about what to do. Obviously, we want to keep some kind of mud room or have it in the garage. Again, the sheetrock is down here. Pretty sure that was plumbing. All right, got a pretty good idea though of the shape of the house. Go back and we'll take a look at what we think it'll cost to put this thing back together and what our number is to get it sold. All right, guys, we got access. We walked the property. Now we're going to figure out our numbers and what we're going to offer on the house. I'm not going to deep dive into the rehab on this one. Like and subscribe. Our guys who follow this channel know that we cover absolutely everything from rehabs to values to how to find leads. So yeah, like and subscribe, guys, and we'll dig more into those numbers in a separate video. Really, this video is about, how to flip houses with no money down and that question that everybody always asks. So I'm not going to break it down. Where our rehab came in at 46,000, and then our ARV came in at 250. and we want to have this at 70%, right? So what we want to do is we've comped it out. We've got our ARV 250. We're going to times this by 0.7. That's our 70%. And then we're going to reduce the rehab, the 46,000 rehab, right? This gives us an ideal 70% purchase price of 129,000. So we're going to put that in here. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us, $9,000 cash, cash out of pocket at closing. So if we paid what he was asking, right, it's way too much, and it's always going to be way too much on the MLS. That's why I always suggest learning how to source your own deals, off-market deals, pocket listing deals. We're going to be releasing tons of videos on that. There's also one that you can check out. We'll put the link at the end of this video. So at 169,000, it's going to be way too high out of pocket, nearly 50 grand, right? So 129,000. Now, on the calculator you see here, the sparklending.com website, this is going to give you all the different scenarios. So you're just working with your lender to see what scenario that they'll give you, right? Ideally, you're going to want a loan to value scenario. It means that if you buy a deal deep like this one, right, at 70%, you're really only coming to the closing table with the closing cost, right? Now, if you are buying loan to cost, well, you're leaving a percentage in of your purchase price on every deal. So you can see how that really jumps up, right? Because here you got to have 20% in. 90% loan to cost is going to look a little bit better, but again, loan to value is the more advantageous one. It just depends on your lender and what kind of structure they require. So 70% is what we're going to offer, and then I'm going to let you in on this following video how you can flip a house with no money down, and this is the technique. All right, guys, so we went online, we got the lead, we reached out to the agent and got access. We put a rehab on the property, right? And then we ran it through the cash to close calculator to figure out roughly what numbers we need this at to make it work. That's really the same step for any flip house or any wholesale house if that's what you're starting with. But I know you guys are here for one reason on this video, is how to flip houses with no money down, right? One of the most overused phrases in real estate. You see it on every podcast, you see it on every magazine, TV show, but really you don't get an answer, right? You're always led to some course or led to some, guru. But on this channel, we are really going to try to break down absolutely everything, be completely raw and informative as we can on every single one of these topics. So make sure to like and subscribe, because the answer to the question is that there is multiple ways to flip houses with no money down, and you can actually do it. So today we're just going to be covering one topic, and this first one is again, it's something that I feel that most people don't understand completely or don't talk about, and it's the ability to wholesale a property to yourself, right? So stay with me. Wholesale a property to yourself. It's less confusing than it sounds. I'm about to pull up a closing statement on the screen here where you can see that one of our borrowers just a couple weeks ago made nearly $30,000 by wholesaling the property to themselves, okay? So what happened was he went and bought a property at $100,000 and then he wholesaled it to himself for $140,000. The wholesale fee he made was $40,000, but don't forget, he was still going to flip this house, or he still is flipping this house. So the cost of the loan and closing cost was $10,153. So he walked away with roughly $30,000 from this transaction, and he still gets the house to be able to flip. But I would like to say there is some caveats to this, right? The only reason that he was able to do that was because he bought that deal deep enough to allow him to do that. So let me give you a little bit of insight into what lenders are looking for and how you need the right lender to do this also. So lenders like borrowers to have money in every single deal, or we'll call it skin in the game, because it mitigates the risk for them to walk away if anything goes wrong, right? Things happen in flips. You get contractor issues, you get permitting issues. Now, if you have $0 in there, right, it's much easier just to wipe your hands and say, here you go, Mr. Lender, it's your problem. It's even easier if you got 30,000 bucks at closing on the deal. So you really need a lender that can understand what you're doing, understand the process. If they see it on the closing statement and they have an issue with it, it could get a little bit tricky towards closing. But it's not saying that this is not an absolutely home run strategy if you know how to structure it correctly, and something you can do going along. He can take that $30,000 and use that for his interest payments. He can use it for his upfront payments to the contractor. But most importantly, the lender has to feel protected, and also the borrower has to know how they're doing it and still be a good borrower, so that there's no problems within that deal. So he bought it for $100,000. He wholesaled it to himself for $140,000. And the way that this really works is, buying it deep enough is lenders really have the two methods, right? You hear loan to value and you hear loan to cost, right? Loan to value is better for the borrower in terms of not having to bring much out of pocket, because it's completely based on that asset. So if like for us, we'll do 70% LTV. Well, you're only bringing closing cost on that deal if you buy a deal 70% or sub 70%. Anything above 70%, because we're doing 70% LTV, you'd be liable to bring to the closing table. LTC, or loan to cost, you're always going to have some money into the actual deal, because let's say it's 80% loan to cost. Well, you're bringing 20% of that purchase price potentially to the closing table. So to make this strategy work on LTV, you need it to be at sub 70 LTV, right? 70%. Because this 140 here was 70% of ARV, right? So the 100,000 that he bought it at, he got such a good deal at it, it allowed him to wholesale it to himself and make that $40,000 instead of just leveraging the loan down to this 100,000, right? Because we could have easily done that, and we would have loved to have done that too. He doesn't need that full 70%, right? Because the lender is not going to be the one who says, here you go, here's a bunch of cash back at closing. We're not going to give you 70% on that deal. The lender is just going to leverage that down to where you have that deal, and still you're going to bring the closing costs. So even if they advertise 70% LTV, if you have a 61% deal, the loan is going to be a 61% loan. The lender is not going to be giving you a ton of cash back at closing. So this way he contracted this under his name, David, and then he wholesaled it to his LLC for $40K. The priority, home buyers. Priority home buyers bought it essentially from David, or had it assigned for $40K. So if you guys need to look at any contracts, or just kind of want to overview, I'm happy to send those out. My email is joe@sparklending.com. I'm more than happy to send out an assignment contract, just so you can kind of go over it. And this isn't going to be the only video we're going to cover on these topics. We're going to be covering these all the time. But really, this is one method that allows you to not only flip houses with no money down, but actually get paid at the... All right, guys, I have a trick question for you here and a little bit of math for you guys to do. After we ran the numbers in the cash to close calculator, we know that a 70% loan on this one is $129,000, right? Remember, the rehab was $46,000. So if I'm going to purchase this property and wholesale it to myself and make $10,000 where the loan is at $129,000, what am I offering the seller? What am I offering the seller to be able to contract it, wholesale it to myself for $10,000, but still have my loan in total be at 70%? I really look forward to seeing what your guys' answers are, but I think by putting this on paper and doing the math, it's going to really help you understand this strategy. The most important aspect to this and being able to structure deals like this is finding them, right? So check out this other video I made before on kind of the secret sauce to how I always found deals, and hopefully you find it useful. Remember, guys, we're going to cover absolutely every single topic in real estate. Really love to have you on board the journey. We're also going to be interviewing investors, walking properties with them, and wholesalers. Find that we're going to have a lot of fun while we do this and really help everyone explore their niche and grow in real estate. Again, my email is joe@sparklending.com if you want to reach out for any contracts or any advice or any help. But make sure to like and subscribe, guys. It helps everything, helps grow, kind of reassures me that the content that I'm providing is adding value. Obviously, we're not making anything from it. It's just adding value to our viewers. And have a great day, guys.